Hello, everyone. Welcome to Court with Chrissy. Is it just me, or did the fish cops catch a male Karen? What the chinook? He wants a trial. I hope you like it. Court with Chrissy is now in session.
Skinner Church. Know about James Van Druff.
Yes, I'm here.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so that's the first thing.
Okay, so we've got a fishing violation.
Alleged, yes.
Something about an improper fish land handling.
Jim walked around and what?
You want to tell me what your side of the story is?
He walked around. Hang on a second, sir.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I'll do this. I'll do that. Okay. Okay, I apologize. I'm at work.
That's all right.
Okay, where were we at, sir?
You were about to tell me what your side of the story is here.
The side of the story is there's no evidentiary fact based upon where the fish is retained. The officer stopped me in waters that was not legal to retain the fish that I had retained earlier in the morning in the legal water. So he ended up taking my fish, writing a ticket, and I'm not exactly sure why.
Okay. All right. Well, here's what we're going to do. I've got an affidavit from the officer. I'm going to read this to you. We'll hear what his side of the story is, and then we'll figure it out, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, it says on September 5, 2024, at approximately 8:44 hours, was on duty, was working a personal watercraft patrol during this incident and was patrolling the Columbia River near Austin Point, located within Cowlitz County. This patrol was part of a planned emphasis patrol to enforce the illegal take of wild salmon starting September 5 of 2024. The Cowlitz River, or the Columbia River, from the Longview Bridge to Warrior Rock is a select fishery, and fishermen are allowed 2 adult salmon, which one may be a chinook, may be retained and are required to release all salmon and accept hatchery chinook and hatchery coho. Okay. So the officer is saying that fishermen are allowed to keep 2 adult salmon, one of which may be a chinook, required to release all salmon other than hatchery chinook and hatchery coho. Okay. During the emphasis patrol, Sergeant John and Officer Hughes were on the bank at Austin Point making observations of vessels fishing and noting which vessels retained fish. I was provided information on a vessel that had retained a fish and guided me to the correct vessel to make contact. I made contact with a vessel that had 2 adult males on board who were actively fishing with lines deployed into the water. I identified one of the males with his Washington driver's license as yourself, performed an inspection of the licensee's gear and fish. I asked if they had any fish on board, and he showed me an adult wild chinook on the floor of the boat. I could clearly see the adipose fin. He stated he had caught the chinook, and I noted that he had the fish recorded on his catch card. Asked him if he knew the rules regarding retaining wild chinook currently. And he stated that he thought he could keep it. I explained to him that the rules had changed starting today and that it was illegal to retain wild chinook. He became visibly upset and stated that he knew for a fact that I was wrong. I asked him if he had the Fish Washington app to look at the rules. He stated that he uses the fishing pamphlet. I explained to him that the rule is listed in the pamphlet and is a permanent rule. He stated that he read the pamphlet many times, that he has read the pamphlet many times, and is sure that is not in there. I explained to him that since it is illegal to possess, I would be seizing the salmon. Complied, handed me the fish. He was upset throughout the entire contact and was adamant that I was wrong. Explained that since today is the first day of this rule change, that I have discretion in writing criminally or an infraction. I explained that I would be mailing him the infraction. Confirmed his mailing address and current. Okay. So apparently he's saying that the rule change went into effect the day that you were fishing and you happen to have a wild chinook in your possession.
Yep, that's what he's saying.
Okay.
Okay. I do have a couple questions, if I
Okay.
may. You said there's 2 officers on the bank.
All right.
In his statement he gave, he said there's 2 officers on the bank.
That's what he said.
Okay. Can I get the locations and time that they started witnessing?
I don't have that
Okay,
information.
I need that information desperately. The reason I was so adamant is because I retained the fish and the legal waters above Warrior Rock, and came down to the mouth of the Lewis and then started fishing again. And I have a witness that was with me. We both caught our fish up there. We caught 2 fish, coho and that salmon, and then decided to come down and fish in the Lewis. And that's where he stopped me at, was in the Lewis River. And I do not believe that there was 2 bank officers on the bank, because they would have noted that I didn't retain the fish anywhere in that water that couldn't be retained. I retained them up there at Warrior Rock. We came down. We started fishing at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Okay. Officer says you were in the Columbia River.
Okay. Correct. That's where we retained them at Warrior Rock. In the Columbia River, above Warrior Rock, where we were allowed to retain them. It's below Warrior Rock that you were not allowed to retain a fin or a wild chinook from that day on. But above Warrior Rock, which is only 500 yards upriver, where we were fishing at 5 a.m. in the morning and retained both those fish legally, that's why I was upset with him.
Well, now hang on. You just said that you were on the Lewis River.
We came down to the Lewis River after we retained those fish and started fishing in the Lewis, because the Lewis has a 3 fish limit. And I'd already retained my chinook limit. I could keep catching coho in the Columbia, but I couldn't retain another chinook. So I could go fish hatchery chinook in the Lewis and still retain 3 more chinook if I wanted, plus coho in the chinook in the Lewis.
All right. I need you to slow down a little bit. Okay. The officer says that he contacted you. You were in the Columbia River near Austin Point. And he's indicating that at that point in time, you had possession of a wild chinook on the Columbia.
Correct. I did have a wild chinook in my possession, which I retained, which I caught above Warrior Rock that morning. Okay, before they even came out.
Okay.
And I was actually in the Lewis River when he contacted me. I mean, I was only 50 yards from the Columbia, but still, regardless, I mean, that's the fact of the matter. I was in the Lewis. It doesn't really matter where he
Yeah.
contacted me at. I mean, you can't keep a wild Chinook in the Lewis either, but that holds no bearing about where I retained it. I retained it. I caught it at Warrior Rock, where it was legal to do so. So I don't understand this infraction.
As you say that you were in a position that you were not supposed to have possession of a wild Chinook.
Well, it's not where I have possession at, it's where I retain the fish at. It was legal to retain it from Warrior Rock up. That's where we were fishing that morning at 5 a.m. 5:30. That's where we caught the two fish that we had at that particular time. Again, if we want to set this over for evidentiary hearing and I'll have my witness present and we can pull the officer in and the other two officers he supposedly says were on the bank and we can find out what time that they were there and what they witnessed, that's fine with me.
Well, we can do that.
Or you can just dismiss the charges as they are and I lose a fish in a day of fishing.
Well, I'm going to set this for a hearing. I
Sounds
mean,
good.
it's already set for a hearing, but we'll continue the hearing. If that's the case, and we will continue it over to give you plenty of time. I'm going to set this over to January 22nd. That'll give you opportunity to subpoena the officer and do whatever discovery requests you want to do.
Yeah, how do I go about getting the discovery request? Do I ask that from the DA?
I can't,
Okay.
I can't advise you on that, sir.
Okay. I'll contact the DA's office and ask for discovery.
Okay.
Pretty sure they are liable and legally obligated to give me one.
Okay. I'm going to set this over to January 22nd.
22nd.
Yep. 22 at 10 o'clock in the morning. Okay.
Thanks, sir.
You be sure and get your subpoenas out in a timely fashion. They have to be out within a certain period of time within the date of the hearing. Okay. So you want to get on that. And we
Sure,
will,
why I need to subpoena the officers. They're going to have to show up anyhow.
no, sir. No, infraction hearings are generally held by affidavits unless you subpoena the officer.
Okay. Well,
So if you
maybe
want sir,
go ahead.
I need you to slow down. All right. If you want the officer present to provide testimony, you need to subpoena him. Otherwise, I am going to make my decision based on the affidavit. All right.
Okay, I guess I'm really confused then.
Okay. And that's, well, infraction hearings are generally held by affidavit. So the officer files his affidavit along with the citation. Okay.
Okay.
If you wish to take it outside of the affidavit rule, you have to subpoena the officer.
Okay, I'm asking for an evidentiary hearing or trial, I guess, either or.
This is an evidentiary hearing that we're having right now.
Oh,
And I'm
I
giving
see.
you an opportunity to continue it so that you can subpoena the officer. Do you want to do that?
Of course. I didn't know I had to. I thought the state would have to provide that officer for questioning.
No,
They're the
sir.
ones bringing the charges.
That's what I'm telling you is it's done by affidavit unless you want to bring the officer in by subpoena. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. So we're going to continue it to January 22 at 10 o'clock in the morning. It's going to be a video appearance just like we're doing this morning. And if, like I said, if you want to subpoena the officer, you need to get on that right away. Okay.
Copy that.
All right. And we will see you back here on the 22nd.
Yes, sir.
Okay, have a good day.
Yeah.
Next case I've got is Jordan Williamson.